I'm always like put at ease when a Virgo is involved. Like my girlfriend's a Virgo, and it just
Oh,
like
really?
I just know certain things won't fall apart in my life. I'm like, it's
Things will
just
like run
nice.
smoothly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I might destroy some shit. You'll probably be able to fix it. Like there's just certain things like I just feel at ease with. Yeah.
Yeah, my boyfriend's also a Virgo, ironically. So we're a Virgo
Oh,
Virgo
got this
couple.
Virgo and Virgo action. Yes.
So it's quite crazy because we're quite like OCD and everything has to be
Do
like,
you ever out Virgo him, or does he ever out Virgo you? And you're like, damn it! Like he's like, oh, typo, and you're like, oh, you're like
I
missed the spot, and he's like, oh,
with some things I out Virgo him. Like when it comes to like
yeah.
planning the day and planning the week, and then he'll like forget we have to do something. But like with other things, like he'll out Virgo me. Like I'll overlook a small thing in the house, that had to be done or something like that. So there's like
Hmm.
different ways that it happens.
What about that detail? Yeah, totally. Could see that.
Okay, cool. So, Pisces season is usually like a crazy
I was gonna
time.
say Pisces season on you guys is probably a challenge. It's for my girlfriend as well.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
is. Like I feel so confused and disorganized and everything is confusing and I can't get anything right. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, before we get started, so introduce yourself to us. Let us know who you are, what you
Yeah.
do. The reason I actually approached you was because I'm very interested in your astrology book, your children's book. So tell us a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit
it's
about
right
that.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the little crab finds a friend. And yes, this is really what I've poured my entire heart and soul into over the past few years. This is eventually going to be a 12 book children's book series. This is the first book, and it is about a lost little crab that goes on an astrological adventure to get home. And each sign helps him get closer to home. And with each sign he interacts with, he learns about differences that he has with themselves and differences he sees with others, and really understanding that we have the entire zodiac chart in our everyone has the entire zodiac chart in them. Like we all, we sometimes need, to meet people that are different signs to kind of highlight those parts of ourselves that maybe we can't always access, or that we feel kind of are overlooked, or we can't, portray. So this book, yeah, it's a mostly rhyming children's book that really tries to bring astrology to life by bringing the characters that represent each zodiac sign to life. And it's got kind of like some plucky humor. I'd say like recommended for ages 3 to 6, but it definitely could go it could definitely go above that age limit of 6 and up. And I even wrote it really so adults could find it relatable and informative. And each book has a parenting guide in it, written by a friend of mine, an astrologer who focuses on conscious parenting and using. She actually has her own program for teaching astrology as a parenting tool. So she wrote the parenting guide. My good friend Angelica, who's a Virgo, illustrated it, and it was just a collaborative effort to bring this book to life. And so it will be available. Tentatively, it was March 16th. I might push it to the 22nd of this month, but it will be available this month. And just really excited to share it with kids and adults, and to bring astrology to kids as a tool for understanding themselves, loving themselves, and then, of course, understanding and loving and accepting others. And just realizing that as different as we may seem, we have all of our differences inside of ourselves. And that, the little crab learns on his journey that home is something you build along the way. It's not something that is a finite location. It's something that you discover. The more at home you feel on this earth, the more homes you have. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's the book. I'm also an astrologer. You can find me on Instagram at Little Crab Astrology. I do most of my astrology via a plucky koala. They do like horoscopes with. named Miggy. I'm going through a 6th house perfection right now, and maybe that will subside when I go into a 7th house perfection. But yeah, I just like to make like fun, very childlike astrology. Not like childlike in the kind of, some of my stuff's more adult oriented, but I just like to make like really off-brand astrology stuff, like content. So
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Well, I find it really cool how you say, like, in your book that it's basically the crab uses the 12 signs to find his way home. And in a way, it's like an analogy for how we use astrology to find ourselves and, the 12 signs in astrology.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's really, really cool and very interesting. I'm excited to read the book. You must definitely figure out a way
Yes,
to get it to me.
I will send it to you. I will get
Yeah.
it. So when I kind of started delving into your YouTube channel, I really immediately was drawn to how you bring attention to spirituality in a very practical, grounded sense, and how you connect it to astrology, and how you're not just an astrology info YouTube channel. You're one that really teaches how to apply spirituality in a really practical, like everyday sense. And that definitely jumped out. How did you kind of, did you kind of go about deliberately trying to create something that infused both spirituality and how to be spiritual in a very literal sense with teaching astrology? And yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, my mission and my goal is to just basically raise, spiritual awareness and just make people more aware of their, spiritual side per se. And I feel that in this world, what's happening now is a lot of people are losing touch with, just their connection to source, their connection to any kind of spiritual truth that can kind of, guide them and put them on the right path and that kind of thing, or even just help them in their lives make better decisions. Right now, a lot of people are just quite lost. They're making the wrong decisions. They're just, doing a lot of crazy things in their life. And a lot of people are just a little bit unhappy. So I find for myself, or what I have personally experienced is a lot of people see astrology and they approach astrology and they see it as, this thing that can tell you the future, or this thing that can tell you if a relationship's going to work out, whatever the case may be. But they don't actually approach astrology in a way where they use it as a tool to improve on themselves, to get to know themselves, to develop a sense of spiritual awareness in this world and that kind of thing. They just approach it because they want to figure out if they're going to get that promotion, or if that lover is into them or not, or if they're going to be able to afford a car or whatever. They just approach it to find specific answers about their life, but they don't really approach it to find specific answers about themselves. So the reason I approach it with that whole spirituality angle as well is because I feel that yes, you can use astrology as a tool to maybe get you some answers about the future, or whereas potential relationships will work out, and why you should take certain steps in your life, and what the best course of action can be in the future. But it's also meant to be used as a tool to actually, reach a sense of spiritual understanding within yourself and connect with yourself. And that is basically why I focus on the spiritual awareness as well as the astrology, because I feel like they both go hand in hand quite well and work together quite well.
They do.
Yeah.
Yep. I completely agree about people really missing the deeper offering that astrology has. And it's exactly what you just said, understanding yourself better, really understanding why maybe you have inner conflict, or why you portray yourself one way but feel another. And I think that's where the power in astrology lies. And yes, the predictive tools are amazing, and they can be used, but it becomes so like single serving if you use it just like that and you forget about it, and you're like, okay, well, I know, like, I got to circle this date, not do this on that date, or try to find someone like this. But yeah, you definitely fill in the potential and possibility that astrology offers through your channel.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I do think it is important because I think a lot of people just misconceive what it can actually offer you, you know. It's
Hmm.
there's so much it can like offer you. Like I feel that a lot of the times a lot of people will go to like a psychologist or a therapist for years and years on end, and they still don't figure out parts about themselves and
No,
why they react the way they do, why they have certain behaviors,
no,
until they look at their natal charts and they start figuring themselves out through astrology, and then things actually start making sense to them. So yeah, it's quite a
yeah,
valuable tool.
they're. I completely agree.
Yeah. Okay. Do you wanna let me move on to your question?
Yes, bring it.
Okay. So, I made a video about Nostradamus. I want to
Yes.
firstly, I want to hear your thoughts on Nostradamus. What do you think of him? Do you think he was this incredible seer, or do you think he had an ability to project past events into the future? What is your thoughts on him?
Yeah, like when I first learned about him as a kid, I I don't know, I thought it was fascinating. I was always had like a proclivity towards anything spiritual, metaphysical, or like occult-ish. And so I was like, "Oh, yeah, like it seemed legit." And no, I feel embarrassed because I'm not as well versed in him as you are. And when you sent me that question, you're like, "What about the earthquake, the impending earthquake, like on November 15th?" And I looked back and I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, I mean, I think 70% of his predictions have come true. So I do not take him lightly. I mean, I think I catastrophize naturally, so I like maybe that's why I didn't delve too much into Nostradamus, because I would just completely lose myself in panic or future panic, but future tripping. But I like looking. I do think it's completely legit, and I mean, predictions are interesting, right? Like it's sometimes I feel like maybe what he's predicting, the things that didn't necessarily pan out exactly as said or very differently. It seems like some things in astrology are symbolic and some things are very literal.
Yeah.
Last year was like a very like literal, like I mean, with Saturn, of course, like things become pretty literal, but it was just like it was almost comical how literal the astrology of 2020 was. And I was listening on a
Yeah.
podcast about like a Chinese zodiac prediction, like also something text written hundreds of years, and it predicted 2020 pretty on brand, and 2021 is also there. That prediction seemed in alignment with kind of how I'm forecasting the year. But yeah, I'm definitely glad you told me about that date, and it is interesting. So for those that don't know, Ella told me that November 15th there is the massive earthquake that for years, decades, people have been predicting that's going to hit California and separate it from the mainland essentially. And so I last year I got earthquake insurance randomly. Like I just was like,
That's a
and I
good
just
thing.
started like, yeah, yeah. I mean, if that hits, that's like the least of my problems. Like, oh shit, like at least I can replace my computer. Like, no, no. My land is separated from the US. Yeah, so no, and I started just I do feel like with Uranus and Taurus this year, that completely seems like when I look at the astrology and look at like
Possible.
around that time, it,
Yeah.
it seems completely possible. And like
Yeah.
it just there is such a theme, I think, of how is Earth like the planet Earth going to show its displeasure with us, and how is it going to rebel against our like consumerism and our just like how infatuated we are with tech and not with like connecting and preserving the planet, connecting with and preserving the planet. So I do feel like when I saw that, it definitely was like, oh yeah, like circle that date. Like I don't like you mentioned there's theory that he is just projecting past events into the future.
Yeah. A lot of people do believe that Nostradamus was like a phony or like he wasn't actually a real astrologer. And, you know, there's lots of reasons for this, but I always, what I like to do is I like to look at both sides to a story. I don't like to just discuss one side. So sometimes people always also say that. So I wanted to just know, like, what's your view? Do you think he was an actual, like, you know, astrologer, or he was a phony?
I would probably have to like read more and like do more of my own research. Right now, it'd be kind of like my own intuitions. I mean, I don't know. It's. I think if you connect with like Nostradamus, I definitely think there's something there. I think that that clearly his work has a ton of validity and there's a lot to learn. And so, I mean, I don't think there's any astrologer that hasn't made a prediction that didn't kind of manifest. Because, you know, as you probably know, like astrology, it's kind of like waves. Like you're not going to catch every wave. Waves create opportunities for things to happen. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything lines up for it to happen. But it's like the ripening climate. So, yeah, I mean, I think he also predicted some sort of zombie-esque thing this year. And I'm like, you know, like, it's just, I mean.
Well, that's actually interesting. I had a chat with a client of mine, I didn't have a chat with her, but she like commented on one of my YouTube videos. And she said the zombie apocalypse isn't really what we think it is. It's not like a disease where we're all going to become zombies. She actually said
it's like Walking Dead.
She said it's the fact that we are like so glued to our phones and technology, and we're basically just becoming zombie beings. And that's the apocalypse that's actually happening, not a zombie disease. We're becoming zombies in essence. We're like brain dead because all we're doing is watching TV and browsing the internet, but we're not actually being creative, and we're not like expanding our perception through new experiences and things.
That's absolutely true. I think that is, and that's, I think I perfectly pointed out how you have to look at the interpretation from like not just a literal lens of what they're saying, and also not with a lens coming from like being so influenced by like TV and film and media, and like we have this like sensationalized view of like, okay, it's gotta mean flesh eating, and I'm gonna have to shoot it with a shotgun. Fuck, I need shotgun shells. I don't have them. But yeah, totally. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's a great point, and that example is, I mean, 100%. I think that's what this, and we'll go into this more, but the Saturn Uranus, the square that, you know, I mean, I feel like the whole year is really influenced by it. And then the particular points where it's exact, it's like very clear. But I mean, that is what we're liberated, I think, through our connection to Earth and the planet and things that, you know, involve our five senses versus everything is being mainstreamed into tech. Like everyone will get on the tech board, you know, and it is becoming, wherever Saturn is, it just becomes the mainstream. It becomes it becomes what everyone is accustomed to. And so I just think that we are going to, I think internally we're like, oh, there's something not right. There's an imbalance, as you said. And so,
no, definitely. Like, I do think that most of us are already zombies, even though we don't actually realize it, you know.
100%.
It's that like wake up, just like, I don't know, watch TV or work and eat, consume, sleep. It's like there's not much like life really going on there, if that makes sense. Yeah.
No.
But I think, sorry.
Yeah. So I'll ask a question. All right.
Wait. I'm not done, actually.
Oh, you're not done?
No.
Sorry.
So, apparently Nostradamus did predict that the earthquake is hitting California. And if that had to happen, like I know you say you've got like earthquake insurance and all of that, but if that actually had to happen, like how would you feel? Would you be like in shock? Would it be like crazy to you? Or would you be like, you know what, like I was kind of ready for this?
I mean, okay, so in like a crisis moment, I'm usually pretty good in the moment, in like survival, but I would be absolutely heartbroken. Yeah, I mean, like
it would be quite crazy.
Son, it would be devastating, and not literally, of course, but also just emotionally. I mean, it like, you know, I've California, like I've lived here 12, 13 years. I mean, it's not my native home, but I absolutely love it. I've never felt more connected to a place than I have like Southern California, LA. And, you know, we live like walking distance to the beach. We're really lucky. Our
Oh, that's
apartment is, you know,
awesome.
we're in a, yeah. So, I mean, God, I don't know. Like we have like, I've been buying more like gear, like just stuff, like prepping stuff, like a book on like eating wild plants and like batteries and like just like tourist stuff, just stuff like, you know, canned fruit, like just stuff like tools, like basic, you know, just things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That I'm like,
yeah.
this would come in handy.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I'd be devastated. I mean, I get very attached to places I live, so yeah, it would be
I
devastating.
also see that there has been like quite a few like scientific reports of like I don't know the details, but there have been like a few scientific reports that have stated that there is a earthquake due in the California region like within the next few years. So yeah, I just think it's quite an
I mean,
interesting thing that Nostradamus also predicted and all these things going hand in hand.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, right before the eclipses, like it, like in November, December, like it. I mean, it all like kind of adds up.
Yeah.
It, yeah, it's I want to ask you about Scorpios
Okay.
because you have a lot of videos on figuring out those enigmatic Scorpio men and Scorpio people in general.
Yeah.
And I have learned a little bit about your chart placement. So, but you know, what is it about Scorpios that people just, it's like clickbait? They're like, oh yeah, like, is it just because they're so difficult to figure out, or, you know, obviously they are very alluring and have a seductive quality. I love Scorpios. I will say as a Cancer, I feel like I get to like, I always see their cuddly side first, and I'm like, yeah, you have like a bazooka on your back, which is like their stinger, but I'm like, come here, buddy, let me hug you. I like get
That's a good
cuddly
way
with
to put it.
Scorpios. Yeah, yeah. But tell me about your kind of personal experience with Scorpios and why you think it is that Scorpios just like your videos about Scorpios kind of generated so much interest. And
Well, I would say because I have a Scorpio moon, I have quite a natural connection with Scorpio suns and anyone who really has a Scorpio placement because the moon rules over like your emotional, kind of like intuitive side. And it's the side of yourself that shows like, you know, what you connect with and what you understand. Now, because I have a Scorpio moon, I automatically kind of connect and intuitively understand Scorpios and people
mm-hmm.
with Scorpio placements because usually my moon will be in quite a close proximity to wherever their Scorpio is placed. So yeah, I think like having a Scorpio moon, I've kind of just over the years, you know, come to understand the scorpionic nature very, very well through my own emotional nature. And when I made a Scorpio video, it did really well, and I had so many people emailing me and messaging me and asking me to make more Scorpio content. But I didn't really have the other signs message me and ask me to make content for them. So, I mean, obviously, because there's such a big demand and so many people asked me for these videos, you know, I put more time and effort into the Scorpio videos. So I will be making videos about the other signs as well, and I have been doing that. But from what I've noticed is Scorpios are just much more because Scorpio rules the eighth house and Scorpio basically represents, you know, mysteries, unearthing mysteries, penetrating below the surface, you know, seeing what's unseen, like those kind of things. And Scorpios, I lost my train of thought there. So Scorpios basically they have this thing where they really, really want to figure themselves out. They want to figure out why are they the way they are? Why are other people the way they are? Scorpios, more than any other sign, have this want or this need or this desire to figure out what's below the surface. Now, Most other zodiac signs, if they have a couple of water sign placements, maybe a Virgo placement, maybe a Gemini placement, then they will also have similar nature to this, where they'll want to kind of figure things out, look what's below the surface, go deeper into things. But I've noticed more than any other sign, Scorpios and people with Scorpio placements are quite big on this. They are very, very keen to discover themselves, why they are the way they are, why other people are the way they are. And for that reason, I've just noticed Scorpio, when I make Scorpio content, they're a lot more receptive to the content that I make compared to other zodiac signs.
Yeah, I feel like you're offering them like hidden insight that, especially because you have a Scorpio moon.
Yeah.
It's Do you have advice for Scorpio moon people? Because I know several, and like classically that placement is a very intense placement, and it's considered like in fall position. But like I think like there is obviously like so many like psychic just treasure chests and gifts with being a Scorpio moon, and while it is maybe an intense placement to rule our emotional needs and emotions in general, like what are some advice like you could give to fellow Scorpio moons? Keep digging.
No, don't keep digging.
That's true.
The more you dig,
like, and then this conspiracy theory, and then this conspiracy
the more you dig, the deeper you go down a hole. So stop digging.
More bodies
yeah, just don't dig any deeper. No, actually, what I would say is to see the bigger picture. One thing that me with the Scorpio moon that I've had to learn over the years is like I have this thing where I can like notice a lot of, under the surface or more like hidden intentions in the people around me and in the things going on around me. Usually like things appear a certain way on the surface, but there's a lot more going on, and I can notice that what's going on. And what happens a lot is I get so caught up in that. I get so caught up in that, what's going on below the surface, that I just don't even look at the surface. You know what I mean? And what I would advise Scorpio moons is, although things seem dreading and although things seem intense when you're looking below that surface and you're trying to figure out, what's really going on, but you also need to look at the bigger picture as well. You also need to look at why these things are going on. Why are specific people reacting a specific way? Why are things unfolding a specific way? Usually there's a very particular reason for it, and we might not understand that reason, but there usually is a reason, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
That's really sound advice. Yeah.
Yeah, because like we get so caught up with those little small things that we find out, and it's like, but what about the actual thing itself? What about...
Yeah.
Like one thing I've had to learn is with my Scorpio moon, I will get so caught up in like betrayal and when somebody's broken my trust and hurt me. But then what about all the years that this person has gone out of their way to look after me and be there for me, and then I will reject that person just based on one betrayal. But there was years and years and years of a very good loving relationship. So very often Scorpio moons do that. They'll reject the bigger picture just because of that one small thing they've discovered. But it's important not to do that. It's important to still remain aware of the other side of things and how important that also is. That makes sense.
That makes complete sense. That's really good advice and just a good point. You can fixate so much on the hurt and the betrayal that you miss the bigger picture of the role that person played in your entire life. And
exactly.
That's so important. That's great. I mean, I think we can all use that advice, like
definitely.
Scorpio moon or not, but that is excellent. That is like,
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
So let's move on. Let's see what else I have for you. So who is your favorite astrologer and why?
Oh man, again, I don't have, they've changed, I mean, like I discovered astrology through very like mainstream, not mainstream, but like they would be mainstream now. Like, oh my God, like Susan Miller, like, like very, like you just,
yeah.
Because when you first get into it, and you just start I wish I had read more old books. Now I'm going back and reading like older books, but I really kind of got into it really through the internet and then through going to astrology meetings in Santa Monica every month. And so, and YouTube. I mean, like a lot of my favorite astrologers were like big YouTube people. And so, but I've gone away from that and kind of really, I'm really into Hellenistic just astrology right now. I think I have a great affinity for understanding the past. I feel like if you understand the past, you will understand what's to come. And again, that could be like my Cancer fourth house sun placement. I really
Obsessed with the past.
So on brand for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so cool for me to understand like, why things why certain signs sextile, why certain signs form oppositions, like how these things originated and the how these things came to be, and then how they've been translated differently through modern astrology. And so, I mean, I definitely am more of a modern astrologist, but I do find Hellenistic astrology fascinating. And so I really like Chris Brennan. I'm finally reading Dane Rudyard, which is like an astrologer, humanistic astrologer from like the 1930s or predating the 1930s. So I don't have a favorite person, but like I mean, it's so funny because I was like super into like on YouTube when it was like, like Leo King and like Alyssa Sharp and Peace Dealer,
Yeah,
like all these like big personalities, and so, but like it really like it's just funny. I mean, it's I mean they all know a ton. They're great astrologers. It's just my view. Everything's like just I still appreciate those people and I'm so happy there's so many astrologers. I'm so happy. I mean, yes, there are some people that are unconscionable and not using it, and are trying to uphold themselves as these great astrologers, and they have not the best intentions. And I think, there is like there's so much, I mean, you did an amazing video on this the other week, but there's so much shadiness. And there are people that are kind of the false prophet sort of archetypes with astrology. And so it is like, I think when you're finding your favorite astrology, I think it will, for me, it fluctuates, it changes. And I've outgrown certain astrologers and I've come back to, I think that it's a journey, and whoever is teaching you something valuable now, I think that's that kind of is for me who my favorite astrologer is. Like wherever I am like gaining insight and wisdom and feeling stimulated, that's where my interest goes. And I really, it's funny. Yeah. Astrologers I've definitely, I won't say outgrown, but I don't get the same thing. I don't, I like it again, not to take away anything that they do. It's just, we're evolving. And I think your studies of astrology will evolve. And I think that astrology is what I love about it. It's so organic. What you're experiencing will lead you to discover, the depths that it has to offer. It'll lead you to maybe discover more about the Vedic interpretations of like the nodes of Rahu and Ketu. It will lead you down like different paths. And it all, to me, seems very like timed and very like you're into this for a certain reason at a certain time, because it sheds light like on a moment you need, on something you need in the moment. And it just evolves. So that's my way, like very long-winded way. It's I don't have a specific person, but I am like into I like Chris Brennan. He has the astrology podcast and just amazing guests like Demetra George, like all these like old school astrologers that just know so much and just have studied it like complete scholars and have read like all of the original texts and just cool. That's kind of what I'm into right now.
Okay, so I think you're up.
I'm up. Okay. I'm kind of going by memory because I don't want to keep like leaving the screen, but I do recall asking you about cringy aspects in your own chart, and if you had ones or if they have you, I really like, this is a very seemingly surface question, but I think what I was trying to get at is have you, the parts in your chart, when you start to discover astrology and you start to qualify what is good and what is bad, and you start to learn how not black and white that is. But are there parts in your chart that you maybe had a harder time accepting, or aspects that you really saw challenged you and felt, could feel limiting at times or could feel very difficult? Or have you been able to kind of love on those aspects a little more? Or are there just aspects where when you look at your chart, you're just like, oh, that's really hard and there's no way around it?
Yeah.
And what would you say to people? I think as astrology becomes more mainstream, more people have access to understanding their chart, I think there will, just because of our society, there will be a tendency to be like, you have this, it's bad. Or I have this, it's, kind of like the way we self-deprecate if like we don't have a certain physical feature or we don't have a certain attribute. We're just like, oh, this is ugly. Like my thing, I worry people will do that with their chart. And so while like, challenges and difficult placements in astrology, I think always need to be seen as what they are and acknowledged as being difficult. There is like, there's so many things that like when you look at the whole chart that kind of mitigate and overcome maybe some of those challenges. So I guess, yeah, you don't have to tell me specifics, but are there parts in your chart when you first start learning astrology that you're like, oh shit, oh, I have that, like, and I know you did a video on like the 5 worst placements. I think that's where this question stemmed from, because you're like the 5, not worst placements, but the 5 most difficult aspects / placements to have in astrology. And I watched it and I was so amused because it was great. I mean, but you did it in a way that wasn't like, you have this, you're fucked. You were like, hey, like this is what's going on and this is why it's challenging, but here's like the beauty behind it too. So I like really how you presented that.
Oh, thank you. I would say for me, what's challenging in my chart is my Saturn in my first house. So that basically means like I'm consistently limiting myself. Like I place a lot of limitations on myself. I'm very restrictive when it comes to myself. And I feel like trying to grow myself and just expand myself and that kind of thing is very, very tricky because I'm constantly faced with all these obstacles and limitations, whether it's obstacles and limitations I'm creating or whether it's obstacles and limitations the outer world is creating for me. So I would definitely say Saturn in the first house, it slows you down. Like it slows down your success quite a bit, so it's difficult to actually, how do I say, get on the move and get going. Like you kind of have to work really, really hard. You have to try really, really hard. And you have to put so much into what you do all the time. So I would say that really annoys me. I wish my Saturn was somewhere else. Then my other one, if you look in my whole sign charts, I've got a whole bunch of planets in my 7th house. Like I have basically like a whole stellium there. And if you look in my Placidus chart, I also basically have a whole bunch of 7th house aspects, 6th house aspects, and I have a Libra North node. So I find that to be quite annoying because I have an Aries South node. I continuously find myself like wanting to do my thing, wanting to pursue, my desires, my goals, my wishes, but my entire life is filled with people. And because of all the Libra energy, and I consistently have to find myself, making sacrifices to my needs, making sacrifices to my wants, making sure that the people in my life are happy. I have to put my wants and wishes aside to make sure that the people I love are happy and cared for. And it can really irritate me a lot,
That's hard with Saturn in the first, where you're like, where you feel like you're constantly maybe accommodating people, and then you're like, I really need to work on me though.
Yeah.
I really need to invest in myself. And
That's exactly what it is. Like I feel like I really want to work on myself, on my career. Like I'm planning on writing an ebook and I'm trying to work on that, but I'm
Yeah.
consistently being bombarded with Libra energy. And so that means like, having to deal with other people, partnership,
Yeah.
cooperation, like all these things. And it's like, I just want to lean into my Aries South node, where I'm like, I just want to do my thing. I don't want to have to worry about you people the whole time, but I kind of do because, like I said, because I've got so much in Libra going on and in the seventh house, I can't not consider other people. I can't not, be that person who has balanced relationships. I have to. Like,
Yeah.
it's a catch-22 because if I don't get the time to do my own thing and to pursue my things, the way I want to on my own, I get upset. But then also, if I don't have balanced, happy relationships with people, I get upset. So it's like, either way, I feel like I can't really win. You know what I mean? And then I also have my Libra Mars conjunct my North Node, which I find to be a little bit annoying as well because it makes me very, very indecisive, but it also makes me feel like there's something I need to do all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like I feel like I can't do this thing I'm meant to do all the time, but it's like eating at me. It's like I've got something I need to do. So that's kind of an annoying aspect, especially because it's in the eighth house as well. And then I would say the other thing that just kind of annoys me a bit is my Scorpio Moon. My Scorpio Moon conjunct Pluto. So my
Oh
Pluto,
wow.
yeah, my Pluto is also in Scorpio.
Kind of badass.
My Pluto is also in Scorpio conjunct my moon, and I feel like it's too overwhelming. Like
Yeah.
it's too much. Like I'm way too aware of the more, how do I say, darker things in this world. Like I mentioned earlier, like the darker intentions of people. Like to me, like life isn't light and fluffy and beautiful. Like life is quite intense because I'm very aware of all these intense things all the time. I'm not always aware of these light and fluffy, beautiful things. So a lot of the times people get annoyed with me because like I have this very penetrative nature where I will identify, a problem and this problem's being covered up or something, like people aren't aware of
Yeah.
this problem, then I will be like,
Yeah.
listen, this is a problem. And then people tell me like, no, you must calm down, just relax. But it's like, I don't see life that lightly. To me, like things are quite serious, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
But it can be quite
100%.
annoying because like I said, I just kind of want to feel more light and fluffy. Like, I want to feel like,
Sometimes do like tourist stuff, like go berry picking or like just
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But
indulge in like tactile surfacey things.
but
Yeah.
I feel like I'm constantly being like plagued by the darkness of the world, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Well, I feel like
ah.
you have an insight into it that other people you really are able to see behind the veil. And
Yeah,
so, if you know like there's monsters in the closet, you can't just look at the closet as a place to hang clothes. Like you'll know like
yeah.
it's impossible to unsee that or unknow that.
Yeah, that's very true. Like for me, it's like exactly as you said, like I can't just be calm about the closet and accept the closet when I know there's like monsters and demons in it. They're about to like destroy everything, but everyone's like, no, there's nothing in the closet, the closet's fine. I'm like, listen, there's something in the closet. And they'll be like, there's nothing in the closet. And eventually, when the stuff comes out the closet, it destroys everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically.
Yeah. And I like think a lot of people aren't wanting to look under what's been swept under the rug and what's in the closet. And I think that they like it when like you're not doing it just to like throw cold water on them. You're doing it because like it's a threat or it's something
Yeah.
that is corrosive and potentially toxic. So
Yes.
it's there I think like it is almost encouraged, I hate to say, in society to kind of I'd like to hope it's less so, but like to sweep things under the rug or to like kind of be like, well, we don't know for sure. So like, well, that's just, like, let's just assume as long as like I have all of my like superficial or tangible needs met, that like there's nothing bad in there, you know? And so,
yeah, that's very true. And the nature of like Scorpio, especially like Scorpio Moon, and like having Pluto in there, because Pluto is also like a Scorpio ruler, is to basically identify those hidden darker things and to transform it. It's to unearth it, bring it to light, and transform it into something beautiful. That is what Scorpio actually does. So a lot of the times people will be like, oh, but you're bringing all this attention to these dark things, but they're actually trying to change those things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone I do love, going back to your earlier questions, is Shaman Durek. And he's like a total Scorpio. And like, essentially that's his whole thing, is like, you know, bringing the darkness into the light. And if you don't identify the dark, like, that's the thing about Scorpios. People forget that it is the lightest light, and yes, the bleakest dark, the darkest dark, but like, it is purity. It is, I mean, Virgo, yes, definitely associated with purity, but Scorpio, like, energy is looking to like run the darkness into the light. It is a cycle, it's cyclical. So it is about like, you know, really like the purest light, as much as it is about seeing in the darkest of dark.
Definitely. It's like the phoenix, you know, like transforming
100%.
into something beautiful from the ashes. But like the only way that something beautiful can appear is for it to be destroyed. It's like the phoenix rises from the ashes, but first destruction has to occur. So yeah, it's quite symbolic.
I feel like the Pluto and Scorpio generation, like, really is the generation that has been, has faced the consequences of so much ignoring the problem, or so many people ignoring the problem, or so many people sweeping things under the rug, or like putting perfume over it, or hiding it. And you guys have, I'm actually Pluto and Libra, so you guys have really like bared that consequence and had to face those demons. And I think when I think about like the Me Too movement, I think about all these, I feel like the Pluto and Scorpio generation is the one unmasking all the shit that has been just so entrenched in society, or so, you know, frowned upon, but accepted in the way it's presented. And it's just like, you guys are just pulling back, you know, all of the curtains. And it makes me so happy. It's so necessary. It's how we progress, and it's how we become more loving. And I think that's people lose sight of that. Yeah.
It's actually a very, very good way to put it, actually. I've never thought of it that way.
Yes.
So what is it that actually got you into astrology?
Oh, all these questions, I wish I had like a more exact answer, because I wish I had an exact moment where I was like, damn, astrology, that's it. That's the thing I've been missing. I think, you know, as a kid, even, like, my ears would always perk up when someone would be like, oh, Cancer, or like, you know, like see in the newspaper, like Zodiac, the horoscopes. It's something that always seemed like home for me. It always, you know, some kids are really good at math, and math is like a very comforting thing. Like astrology, just, I wasn't even that exposed to it, but whenever I was, it felt so comfortable. It felt so familiar. It felt so much like, oh, okay, I know this. And I think it's funny, this is cliche, but I really didn't start studying and getting into astrology until like right before my Saturn return. Like, Saturn return is a lot of times when people start getting into astrology, because they're just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why do I feel old? Like, what is going on? And I think like I got into it maybe right around then, like when I was like 27. And so I think like that, like, you know, it like you start learning about like the sun sign, the moon sign, and it just kind of, for me, I just couldn't get enough. It was like insatiable, and I just wanted to know as much as possible. But it was like, as I mentioned earlier, it was really directed or dictated by what I was experiencing at the time. And I think just, you know, like understanding like Saturn, and understanding, at first, I feel like you understand Saturn from a limiting perspective and a challenge perspective. And then, you know, like someone that maybe at first you don't feel any kinship towards, you start to appreciate and you start to understand the purpose of different planets and different signs. And just, yeah, it was something that I have a Mars and Gemini, so I would just go on these binges, and I do feel like I can assimilate information pretty quickly and understand it. And astrology was something that just felt like it was inside of me. Like it felt like it was something I just unlocked. Like it was
Yeah.
like a app that I forgot I had. And I was like, oh yeah, I need to like re-download it. And so it just, I just started seeing things in astrological parallels, and they soothed me. And I think I enjoyed discussing astrology with people because it's such a break from superficial discussions and
Yeah, totally.
superficial like exchanges. Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
it's and I loved it because I've always wanted to talk more about just emotional understanding, and you know how like we can understand and see each other more, and I think just astrology was such a accessible tool to do that, and that it was a language that people would feel comfortable speaking, I think. And so that just kept drawing me in, and it each you can spend your lifetime like studying your own chart or studying one person's
Yeah.
chart, and it's just the full breadth of what it offers, and just how much depth there is, and just you know it's just so damn magical. It makes me it just I love it. It always there's something about astrology that always excites me, and it never gets boring because, like I said, there's so many different interpretations and so many different avenues to explore.
Yeah.
So
That's very true.
yeah, I remember I was like in LA, and I was like 27, and I was like a background actor on a movie, and um, this guy had an astrology book, and he was like, you know, looking at people's moon signs and rising. That's when I like discovered my moon and rising.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy, yeah, I know. And I was like, oh, I was like, wow, like I didn't, you know, and it that's what like opened the world. And from there, I just kind of went full tilt.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I read somewhere that apparently only like 1% of the human population has the ability to comprehend the technicalities of reading a natal chart. So there's very few people who are actually able to do it. And also, like, there's that whole saying that you don't choose astrology, astrology chooses you.
100. Yes. Wow. You just made me feel so special for like all the challenges I had with like math and spatial relations in my life. I feel so like
The thing
validated
about
because
astrology is you're not, I've noticed people who are astrologers aren't the best mathematic people, but they're very good at reading geometry and patterns and
yeah,
symbols.
yes,
So if you have a knack
yes.
for reading symbols, patterns, and geometry, then you
Yeah, like
can be quite
glyphs,
good.
all yeah, exactly. It
Yeah.
all like connect, and I really do feel like it is an innate gift that, or not gift, but an innate like interest and understanding. It's just something that you look at it and you understand. It's funny, when I first got into it and started doing chart readings, I'd be like, well, I could just tell these people that they have like Venus square the moon in their natal chart, and they can like look it up, and like, or just, you know, and it's just funny because they're like, I can't make sense. Like they're like, yeah, I downloaded an app that describes it, but I have no idea what I'm looking at. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's weird. It's just, so yeah, it is interesting. Well, that's really cool. I did not know that.
Oh yeah, it's a particular type of brain
One
that's
percenter. Yeah, it
yeah,
is.
it's a particular type of brain that's able to like figure out, you know, how the symbolisms match in with interpretations with all the planets and the equations. It's actually quite a complex thing, but it's not a mathematical type brain. It's a different type of brain. It's quite interesting.
I agree. I
Okay.
agree.
Um,
Um,
let's see. And then I want to ask you this as well. What is your favorite aspect in someone's natal chart?
okay, this is a weird answer because I know like you'd probably be expecting like, oh, like Jupiter conjunct Uranus, which is radical. I don't know if that actually. I saw I'm kind of attracted to um, kind of weird avant-garde wild things. So I things that like, you know, like Jupiter conjunct Venus, things that maybe like are
Okay.
very widely accepted as like, oh, these are great aspects. Something I love and is when you have people with like fire or air signs, the masculine signs, in houses that are more subdued, like Aquarius in a fourth house, in the fourth, like Aquarius sun in the
Yeah.
fourth house. Like when
Yeah.
you, I think it adds such depth to those people
I actually have
because
a friend who
it,
has that. That's crazy.
I, I love, or like, my girlfriend's a Virgo with the fifth house sun, and it's
Yeah.
so fun because she's so in the fifth house, but she's like, oh, like, no, do I
Like
need anybody?
Virgo.
Like, yeah. She's like, but, and I just think that gives people an appreciation for, just the nuances in life, and like
Yeah.
how, the thing is, astrology is so multi-layered, and that's how we are. We're such complex, layered people, and I think it gives you appreciation that a person can present one way and be entirely different, or a person can love one thing but at the same time be afraid of it. And I think that just gives you just a person that can maybe walk in another shoe, or understand how people are not these perfect, neat little packages and boxes, and that they have surprises, and they have things that maybe do conflict or contradict or contrast or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think that you see that when I meet people, when I have readings with people, and they have, like, placements in houses that you maybe wouldn't associate, or the energy is very different. It makes for a really neat person that maybe took a really interesting life path, or has a really interesting perspective. So that is something I like. I have a ton of squares in my chart, so I like
Do you know how many
really,
squares you have?
like 5, I think, 4 or
Uh,
5.
I think I have a total of
Like
9 squares.
9.
Yeah.
We're gonna square off sometime. I'm gonna like, okay, I'm gonna like look and see, and like, well, that, I don't know if I can top 9, but
I
I
think it's
love
9 if I
people with a lot
remember
of,
correctly. Yeah, it's quite a lot.
that's badass. I think what I'm trying to say is, I like, quote unquote, challenging place. Like your chart, it sounds badass to me, because I think there's so much with squares, especially. I think oppositions are harder. I think that, like, with oppositions, there's this, like, no one leaves happy, but with squares, there's this, like, this idea of, like, like a bad guy and a good guy, like, having to work together. It's like when I was a
Yeah,
kid, I
yeah.
watched cartoons. It'd be like that episode where, like, the bad villain has to team up with the good guy, and it's so exciting because it's two powerful forces integrating and working together. And I think that squares are what unlock our full potential, and what really helps us evolve. And not that trines aren't amazing, but I feel like when I see someone with a lot of squares, or maybe aspects are more challenging, you also sometimes see where they have so much drive, and there's so much motivation, and there's such, there's just, they're gonna unlock certain things in their life, maybe because they feel forced, or that they have to. But it just, I think there's a lot of potential with charts that have a lot of squares. Potential for maybe really great hardships, but also for overcoming. I mean, like, Mozart had a lot of squares. Oprah, like, you have a
Yeah,
lot of squares. So it's like,
yeah.
it's yeah. It's just, if yeah. Are you talking about, are you incorporating asteroids and points, and, like, are you mainly, like, just like the personal, interpersonal, and outer planets?
I think it's mainly my actual planets. Well, maybe like with the North Node and the Moon.
Yeah,
It might include, like, I usually include like Chiron, but I'm not too sure. I think it might be around there though. I just have to double check.
I should look on
um,
Solar Fire right now. I'll
Let me actually
like
go have a
text
look
you.
quickly.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna look too. Square
One
off.
thing I did hear about squares though is that often when you're not born with many challenging aspects in your chart, life, it doesn't challenge you and you don't challenge yourself. However, if you
Yep,
are, you have the ability to overcome a lot of things and you're able to really
yep,
challenge yourself. You're
yep.
actually able to grow yourself quite a lot like
That's,
that.
I
Yeah.
wrote a whole blog about that. 100%. Yeah, and I think, do you agree? Like, people that don't have a lot of squares in their chart, when they are faced with, like, a year like 2020, or a year of great challenges, they they kind of can fall to pieces or be like, wait a minute, why isn't stuff falling together? Like, and they just, I think, whereas like the person with a lot of squares is like, oh yeah, just another Tuesday. Like,
Yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, exactly, hey. Okay,
Okay.
let me see.
I'm going to include like aspects to my ascendant.
Can you see
Yes.
it? Okay, so
I'm
there's...
not, let me get like closer, but yeah.
Okay, so here's Sun square Jupiter. Okay, Sun square Midhaven.
Kind of a fun one.
Venus square Midhaven. Mars square Uranus. Mars square Neptune. Uranus square North Node. Uranus square South Node. Neptune square North Node and Neptune square South Node, and then Ascendant square Midhaven. That's not really like a square, because it's, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's it's mainly with like the North Node and South Node and stuff. Oh my
Check out this bullet hole. So funny.
Okay, let's see. 1 square, 2 squares, 3 squares, 4 squares, 5 squares, 6 squares, 7 squares, 8 squares, 9. Oh my goodness, 10 squares.
Oh shit.
We have like the same amount of squares basically.
That's why we get each other. We're like, yeah.
That is so interesting. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I maybe will make this my last one. It's fun. Like inadvertently, we've kind of touched on some of the other questions I was going to ask. Okay, this is a kind of completely silly, like Pisces-esque question, but if you could live in one zodiac house for a whole year, where would you live? And if you lived in that house, like you would have like an over amplification of that house's energy. So you would like be able to really obtain and access whatever that house rules, and it would kind of be like a treasure chest of what that house has to offer if you were to live there for a year.
I would say the 9th house, because
Yeah,
I really like learning, travel, education, foreign lands, foreign cultures. I love engaging with, you know, foreigners, different people that aren't from where I'm from. I love discovering new places I haven't been to. I have quite a strong 9th house. I've got Jupiter, my moon, and my Pluto in there. So I feel.
Get the natal Jupiter.
Do you have my chart in front of you?
I don't. No, I was just excited you had Jupiter in the 9th. That's really nice.
Yeah. So I feel like I've got such a strong connection to 9th house energy. Like I'm very open-minded when it comes to just learning about different topics, different things. I feel like I've got that eternal student quality to me where I just literally want to learn everything. I want to see everything, discover everything, meet all the interesting people and talk to them. Yeah. The only way for me to like really expand myself and grow myself the way I see it is through engaging with others, is through traveling and through learning and these things. And that is what I would say is like my favorite house. And I spend most of my time probably like in the 9th house.
That's odd. Have you ever had like a mentor that you feel like really helped you, or do you see yourself kind of fulfilling a mentor role one day? Like, or that like, just, I mean, obviously like you teach through your channel and you teach in your readings. So,
well, ironically enough, my chart does indicate that like my midhaven point indicates I should be a teacher. I should be like a person who shares information, because also it's in Sagittarius. So yeah, I never actually had a mentor, to be honest with you. I had like a few mentors in like a spiritual sense. So I had a few, people that were very involved in all kinds of spiritual techniques, such as meditation. And I had people mentor me through a lot of things like that, through spiritual kind of techniques, but not necessarily like astrology. So with astrology, I kind of just taught myself. But I also like taught myself through other masters in the field and through like their information, like their books, their videos, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I do feel that the whole, doing a course thing is a bit of a like catch-22 in my opinion, because I feel that if you're passionate about astrology, you will be able to find out everything you need to about it completely on your own. And I feel a lot of the times people who do the courses, yes, a lot of them are completely passionate about astrology and they do great in the courses, but a lot of people just enroll in the courses because it's just another thing to do and they don't really have the true passion for it. So, in my eyes, you can really recognize a passionate astrologer if they're self-taught, because it shows you that they put their time, their energy, their dedication and everything into that, and it wasn't just kind of given to them on a platter as to how it would be, you know, in a course or through a teacher or something like that, you know. But both are good. Like I said, there is lots of benefits to taking the course. I just see it as if you're truly passionate about astrology, you can figure it out on your own. You don't always have to do a course.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I know when we spoke previously to this, you'd mentioned that, and that really resonated with me about people that self-study tend to have a deeper passion. It's not just like a notch in the belt hole of like, I have this accreditation, I took this class.
Yeah.
It is something that they are like, they have this insatiable desire to understand astrology on their free time, like on their own, and it is something that is consuming, and is something that they are just naturally seeking out in any possibility or in any way. And I think when you're resourceful, when you're really passionate about something, you'll become very resourceful, and you will not, you will continue to seek out and to understand and to thoroughly, like, not just to absorb it and make it part of you.
Yeah.
And it just, yeah. And I think that I completely agree with that sentiment about, not to generalize, but I do find that to be really true about people that, just pay a lot of money, take a course, and then feel like, okay, like I know astrology now, versus someone that's like, there's never enough to know. Like, it's like, there's more to know. Like, it's like, so yeah, you definitely strike me as a teacher or mentor, someone that is able to communicate astrology very effectively. And also it's just ingrained in who you are. And it's ingrained in, like, it is something you know through both living it and experiencing it, and just have an innate strong understanding. And it comes across like in your videos and just talking to you. It's just really, it's cool. I can see you. Yeah.
Thank you. Courses I do like, though. Like, sometimes you'll see some astrologers will offer like a course like how to find your strength in making money, or like how to find like your strength in relationships, stuff like that. I find can be very valuable.
Really effective.
Yeah, like
Absolutely.
I'm actually working on a course now, how to find your life purpose through astrology. But I feel like when it comes to learning astrology in general, it's very often like the self-study route can be better, because also then you can connect with methods and ways of reading charts more than what you might not have connected with had you done a course, if that makes sense. I have one more question for you, and then I think we can wrap it up.
Cool.
You're probably very tired your side.
I am such a night owl that I'm kind of like wired. We figured out in the beginning that we were like, okay, you're a morning person.
Yeah.
I'm a night person. So like this worked out well. Like, this is my on time.
Yeah.
Like the first time we spoke, it was my off time. But yeah, no. Yeah. Is there one last thing you had to ask, or?
Yeah. Well, you are a crab, Cancer. You're a nocturnal creature.
I am.
So the only thing I wanted to know is, what misconceptions about astrology really, really annoy you? Like, are there any misconceptions you've noticed, and are there anything that really irritates you?
Oh, okay. I think that I'm at a point where I kind of laugh when people balk at astrology, or try to because it's just so fucking funny, because I'm like, your skepticism about astrology is somewhere in your chart. Like, you're just acting out your astrology. So
that's so funny.
Very little that, it's funny. I have friends that are older and into astrology, and they get very defensive about, or feel like they have to defend the validity of astrology, and like and I get it. There are like, people, I've maybe been fortunate where I haven't been as exposed to people that just love to tear them down, but I'm just like, it's just so silly. It's like, if you don't want to believe in like this, like, it's like, if you don't want to use this tool, that's cool, but it's just always comical, I think, when people, I think get really like, and I understand, like, get really defensive about like, well, wow, like they don't get astrology, they don't like astrology, and I'm like, you know what, like it doesn't matter if they believe it or not. It is there, like it is as apparent as day. And so I think I guess when people, it annoys me when people don't see the full potential that astrology has, or when they, I understand, like if you just think about it as your sun sign, it's of course, it's like there's nothing there, it's limiting, or like, well, I think that like if people aren't willing to explore it beyond like the horoscope they read online, or the like, and then they want to dismiss it, then it's just kind of like, okay, I don't know what to tell you. It's like saying you're like not willing to look at the engine of a car, but like saying that car, can't go any faster, or like that car doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Visibility. And so it's just, I don't know. I like, I hope people never, I think as astrology becomes mainstream, I hope, or my fear, and what I hope does not come to fruition, is that people will really start kind of alienating other people based on their sign, or like really start like not looking, like I said earlier about like people seeing a challenging aspect and just, making the generalization that people that have that aspect or are not someone that they could ever talk to, or some, and just cutting themselves off. So I think that's the poison, in that we are very like Saturnian, and that we like to classify everything. We like to like qualify what's good and what's bad, and like what is superior and what's valued and what's not valued. And I think that I hope people never start to discriminate based on someone's astrology or like that is something that, I hope that people understand that we have every sign in us, and that we are wholly the zodiac, and that your chart is a unique blueprint to finding your life purpose, and that it is not, while things have come harder for you or easier, it is not qualified as bad, or as like, okay, if you this aspect, you're a shitty person, or like if you, this moon placement or this sun placement, like you're never going to achieve this because of that. I think that's, I guess, like a fear of mine, that, as it becomes super, everyone becomes kind of
like they'll end up kind of like breaking people down based on their placements. And I can see that totally happening, like
that's the last fucking thing we need. So that I think is it's something I guess I kind of worry about. But yeah, people that, I have like childhood friends that they kind of are like, well, I don't believe in astrology, and I'm just like, oh, that's fine. It believes in you. It does. It believes in you. It's just hilarious, because I'm like, yeah, you got, like with Saturn in the ninth, or it's like, of course you're like,
you're not gonna believe it.
Like it's like, it's just funny. It's just I don't, it doesn't bother me, but I know a lot of astrologers that are very defensive, and like I have one friend that like is like, I gotta learn astronomy so that I can justify, like and I think astronomy is fucking cool. Like you have
well, I do like, I've got my telescope, so I often like do the astronomy side as well. I'm not like an astronomist, but I have some knowledge.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I think, like that's awesome. But I think like, she was like, I gotta justify, like I need to learn like as much as I can about astronomy so I can justify my love for astrology. I'm like, that is badass that you have that knowledge. And that was one of my questions. I was like, I saw your scope, and it made me think, about all the happenings in the sky.
Yeah, like I'm not like an actual scientist, or like I don't have like a degree or something, but I do my research.
No. But you've learned, and it's something that you've incorporated. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, I totally agree though. I also think that like astrology to me is like, it's a spiritual tool, and religion is also a spiritual tool. So, for example, there's so many different religions in this world, and there's so many different ways of viewing life, ways of viewing spirituality, and all these things. You get Christians, you get all kinds of people. And what I'm getting at is astrology is just like a form or a tool like that. You know what I mean? You can't now say that, for example, Christian people and Jewish people are wrong. They're both right in a sense because they both believe their truth, which is their thing that they believe. You can't say the other one is wrong and the other one is right. I actually had this, I saw this analogy once, and it says that like religion is basically like a teacher who, it's basically like a classroom filled with students, and the teacher is absent on the first day, and he writes on the board, okay, I'm not in class today, kids. There's a table full of random books. You just choose a book and you study it, and in the end of the week, I'll be back. Then on the Friday, the teacher comes back after all the kids have studied, the random book they selected. And then the teacher says to them, okay, so the students who chose this book, you can go into the next room and you get cookies and tea. The rest of you will burn in hell. And that's basically how religion is approached. It's like, okay, great. So now you get the Christians, and yeah, so they believe they know the truth. But what about the rest of the religions? So I see it as all these things, religions, astrology, spirituality, tarot, all these things are all merely tools to reach some kind of self-spiritual understanding. Now, which tool you use, that's entirely up to you. Some people want to use religion as a tool. Some people want to use astrology as a tool, but none of them are wrong for selecting the tool that they've chosen. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I completely agree about it being a tool, and not everyone, it won't be everyone's tool of choice. And like that's religion, they're all tools to, I think, their aim is very similar. I think a lot of these tools are to live life in a more
aware, meaneful way. Yeah, definitely. Okay, David. So I know it's probably late there.
Fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. We should do another chat sometime in the next coming months. And then we'll chat again soon. And I hope you keep well. And don't forget to send me a copy of one of those books.
I absolutely will. Yeah,
awesome.
I can't wait to share it with you.
Yay. Well, thank you so much. And then, if anyone wants to check out David's Instagram, it's Little Crab Astrology. I'm also going to add a link to his information in the description to this video once I've uploaded it. So if anyone wants to connect with him, you can just check it out there. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, David. So I'll see you again, and I hope you have a good night. Sleep well.
Have an amazing day.
Thank you. Bye.